are doing too many drugs. Listen to me. You don't know me and we'll never meet. I had a problem like you once. I drank and used to party a little too much till it got out of control and almost ruined my life. I realized I needed help to fix my problem before it totally destroyed me. If you've tried to fix your drinking and drug problem and you know you can't do it alone, you need to call the National Treatment Advisors. They'll immerse you into a 30-day program to replace your old habits with new habits and totally change your life. And if you have PPO private health insurance, the entire program may be covered. Fix your problem right now before it gets any worse. Get clean. Call now and learn more. 877-247-1581. 877-247-1581. 877-247-1581.
Attention all business owners and creative minds. Do you need a unique and personalized touch for your products? Look no further than Romika Laser Engraving and Custom Designs. I'm Ron Phillips, co-owner of Romika Designs. We offer custom laser engraving services for a variety of products, including promotional items and corporate or personal gifts. With state-of-the-art equipment and a team of skilled designers, we can engrave intricate designs on virtually any material. Whether it's a special message, a company logo, or a custom design, Romika Laser Engraving will help you make your mark. And the best part, our prices are affordable and our turnaround time is quick.
I couldn't be happier with the work Romika Laser Engraving did for me. The engraving on my product was precise and exactly what I wanted.
So don't wait any longer to add a personal touch to your products. Call Romika Laser Engraving and Custom Designs today at 817-400-4040 or visit our website at romikadesigns.com. We look forward to helping you make your mark.
Out-of-date carpet giving you the blues? Tired of your old dingy and broken tile? Let my friends at the Floor Store in Cleburne, Texas give your home the makeover it deserves. This is Old Taco Joe coming to you for the Floor Store. Whether it's carpet, tile, wood flooring, or real wood laminate, the Floor Store can cover all of your flooring needs. Located at 405 West Henderson Street in Cleburne, Texas, owner Brent Harris can help. Shower tile, tub surrounds, even backsplashes. Give him a call today at 817-641-9444. The Floor Store, they got you covered.
Hey travelers, do you want to save money on your next flight? Then pick up the phone and call. That's right, call, because the best prices are not online. They're with SmartFares. See, SmartFares has special deals with the airlines. When they have unsold seats, they use SmartFares to fill them. So you get airline tickets at ridiculously low prices. Our prices are too low to publish online. With the extra money you'll save, you can book another trip or treat yourself to dinner or shopping. So stop searching all of those travel sites to find the lowest price on your next flight. Let one of our SmartFares expert travel agents find ridiculously low prices for you. Call SmartFares today and get the best price on your next flight. Guaranteed. Also, save up to 50% off business and first class tickets.
855-325-1820. 855-325-1820. That's 855-325-1820.
Out-of-date carpet giving you the blues? Tired of your old dingy and broken tile? Let my friends at the Floor Store in Cleburne, Texas give your home the makeover it deserves. This is Old Taco Joe coming to you for the Floor Store. Whether it's carpet, tile, wood flooring, or real wood laminate, the Floor Store can cover all of your flooring needs. Located at 405 West Henderson Street in Cleburne, Texas, owner Brent Harris can help. Shower tile, tub surrounds, even backsplashes. Give him a call today at 817-641-9444. The Floor Store, they got you covered.
Good evening, Johnson County. Welcome to The Breakdown. I'm your host, Greg Cooper. What is The Breakdown? Well, we deep dive the inner workings of your local school boards and city councils. Our goal is to raise awareness and simplify the complexities of local governance. Well, we're a couple weeks post-election and the people have spoken. Most municipalities and school districts will undergo slight changes in direction post-elections, but not the city of Godley. Godley's an abnormality, both in the school district and in the city. Both are fortunately going through much needed changes. The school district has just elected a new school board member, Miss Kayla Lane, and rejected a massive bloated bond. Miss Lane ran on a platform of a sharp change in direction, with a heavy focus on transparency, fiscal responsibility, and core traditional academics. The voters spoke loudly where she cruised to victory, and the $1.7 billion bond, which was the sixth highest called in the state, was soundly defeated. Miss Lane is being sworn in tonight, and we will be monitoring her progress closely. We wish her luck as she appears to be the sole voice of reason at this time. Hopefully, the other trustees will hear what the voters said loud and clear and begin to listen and learn more of what the community is demanding via the results at the ballot box. But today is all about city councils. As far as local municipalities go, you cannot find one that has been mismanaged as poorly as the city of Godley. Years of very questionable management recently climaxed at the end of 2022 when most of key city staff en masse resigned and the city was effectively closed for an extended period of time. Basically, a very narcissistic and dictator-esque mayor has rendered the city impotent. However, the citizens of Godley have loudly spoken, and there are 3 new council members. And Godley had the highest ever voter turnout. Good for you, Godley, for coming out and doing your civic duties. Thank you. Unfortunately, the mayor is still in place, but it appears from the outside looking in that Godley has effectively turned a corner and will be headed in a new direction. Time will tell if the 4 recently sworn in, 3 being brand new council members, can lead Godley out of its hole and bring respect back to the city. They have their work cut out for them, and we wish them luck. This brings us to tonight's guest. We are pleased to have Miss Jennifer Thompson. Ms. Thompson is a former city council member of Godley. She was a catalyst of change in Godley, and what is happening right now is in large part due to her courage, resolve, and strength in doing the right thing at the right time in the face of great adversity. Ms. Thompson served for about a year. She was effectively, served for about a year, and she was effectively when a council member vacated his seat. She's accomplished in 1 year, brought light to a very dark underbelly of the little rural Texas town of Godley. 2 other current council members also were working hard for change. Council members Pappenfuss and Corneliuson, who thankfully are still serving. Ms. Thompson, welcome to our show. And let me apologize. I want to apologize to you, your family, for the way that you were treated. Politics is an ugly, ugly game. And when serving, you will be subjected to some uncomfortableness, and that's normal, par for the course. And that comes with the territory. But what happened to you was way over the top. I, for one, hope those responsible will someday have to account for their actions. What they did to you was wrong, and it needs to be righted. That brings us to today's episode, episode 3. I'm calling it Mayor A.C. McGeehee's Municipality of Madness. Jen, welcome to the show. How have you been holding up?
I'm okay. I am not sorry to say that I am a little bit relieved that I'm not on this council. I feel like it is good to get a breath of fresh air and let some other people take care of some business that I started.
Absolutely. I agree with you. Politics is a game of chess, and the goal is to get the king. And sometimes there's pieces that have to be manipulated in certain ways and take hits. And you masterfully negotiated that. When did you begin to see issues with the city of Godley?
Well, our chief of police was put on administrative leave. I had started asking questions on why the council was never notified of that. And then I also asked questions as far as why he was put on administrative leave. At that time, they were informing me that I wasn't there to find out that information, but I was there to accept his resignation. And then when we accepted his resignation, he actually gave us a blue folder with some valuable information in it.
Okay, so as an elected official, the people running the city as employees prevented you from being made fully aware through transparency of what was transpiring with the chief of police. Is it fair to say that?
Yeah, that's fair.
Awesome. And today we're going to get into some of the reasons and some of the stuff that you found out. And I want to encourage everybody. Tomorrow is the first meeting. It's a specially called meeting. It's at 6:30 at City Hall in Godley, where the new council members will be voting. And they have a very aggressive agenda that we'll talk about later. But if you supported these candidates and you support change in Godley, or whether you do or not, get out and support your council. They need to be emboldened. They're going to be voting on no confidence for the mayor and city attorney, and those are two big steps. So started to see this blue folder, started to have a little questions about how the city was being run. So we're going to go through some of the stuff that over the last 6 months or so was being asked by council members in open meetings. And we're going to get a little background on that and see what we can do. And the first one I want to talk about is a city approved vendor list. So a municipality is using taxpayer money, taxpayer resources. It's not their own money. They don't generate income. And one of the things that you began to uncover was the fact that there was no method or approved vendor list. Can you go into that on what an approved vendor list is, what its purpose is, why it's needed and important, et cetera?
So initially, you're supposed to put in an approved vendor's packet. So that packet is all of the tax information, all of the insurance information, and anything that we have contracted in with them. Now, most people don't see what happens behind the scenes.
And let's be careful. We're not asking anything about executive session or closed session.
Right.
Obviously.
No, I'm saying like when we're not in a meeting. So I start emailing questions to the mayor, to the city administrator, and I get no response. Eventually, I bring it up in the meeting, and they tell me that they could get me the information. Well, whenever I am continuously asking for this information, they still would not give it to me. So eventually what happened was I had asked for it and they said that they didn't have it.
Okay. So the city in meetings eventually capitulated that they did not have a vendor list. So a vendor list will protect the city, make sure that the appropriate skilled labor is doing the appropriate job. So an electrician job, if you need electrical work done, you want a licensed, insured, certified electrician to do that, et cetera. Correct?
Correct.
So I'm going to read three quotes here. So this is 3 quotes from Mayor A.C. McGee. And quote 1, to start out, I was just the city marshal for the Centennial. And after that, occasionally we would go out to the sheriff's department. If a call was in the city, his patrol partner was Tommy Wallace, father of the current city administrator, David Wallace. That's quote 1. Quote 2, and all the while, for more than 20 years, he continued police work in his community of Godley. He and Tommy continued to patrol on weekends, and eventually he told the city council that he felt it was time to establish a full-time police officer and department. Quote 2, here's quote 3. Only just recently in the last few years, while AC, that's the mayor, was completing his term on city council, he and David Wallace, then mayor, decided it was time to create a position for city administrator. This was quotes from the mayor in a magazine called Small Talk Media, a local town. So the reason I'm bringing this up, when you start talking about a vendor list, I know that there was lots of questions asked about where city vehicles were serviced, and come to find out, these city vehicles, it looks like were being serviced by Tommy Wallace, a former co-worker, co-volunteer with the mayor, who was the father of the city administrator. Is that correct?
Correct. December 6th, we had a meeting, and I actually asked the former city administrator, David Wallace, that question. And he responded stating that he did, in fact, allow his father to work on those vehicles. The next 2 questions I had asked were if his father had any insurance, which he responded no. And then if his father had a contract, with which he also responded no to.
So, as a city council member, do you get what is known as nepotism training at all? Are you familiar with that, where you're not supposed to cross lines with family members for work and things like that?
So, as a council member, we do not get training in the city of Godley. We have to kind of pick it up ourselves and then watch the TML videos. I don't know if they're going to change that for future reference, but since I am a city employee for another city, I actually already know those rules. I did ask if there was any sort of nepotism or disclosure, because there are ways
around for it to happen, of course.
And there was nothing on file.
So we have city vehicles allegedly being worked on by unlicensed, uninsured father of the city administrator, who the mayor appointed when a council member. Is that correct?
Correct.
That would be Mayor AC McGee was the council member who, according to his own quote, helped make that happen. So moving on from the vendor list, let's talk about an asset list now. So a city asset list. So everything purchased in the city, from a computer, a monitor, a piece of furniture, anything is paid for by taxpayer dollars. People pay property taxes in different ways. There's different revenue generated through permits and fines, etc. But this is taxpayer dollar. The cities don't generate any income. So therefore, there's accountability measures that should be put in place with assets list. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Can you comment on what you found out about an asset list with the city of Godley?
It was the same scenario, same meeting. I found out that we in the city of Godley do not have an asset list. At one point, I had emailed the police department, asked the police department to start one, and then the fire department started one. But as far as I know, the actual office has never started one to date.
So a little story that I went through is with my military background, I have a lot of experience with recovery, and I actually met with the former fire chief to talk about some potential training opportunities with recovery. And this specific topic was brought up with an asset list, and he was unsure of what an asset list was and why it was needed. And while in his training room, I was trying to explain to him that the numerous large screen TVs, the numerous computers, projectors, and things like that. So normally an asset list, when something is purchased by taxpayer money, it should be immediately inventoried, serial numbered, and somebody's responsible for that. That would be a city manager would be a great one. And then he would hand receipt this stuff out to the individual offices. So the fire chief, for example, everything in the fire department would be accounted for. Is that correct?
That is correct. And also, if we had a purchase order system, we would have the ability to have a secondary tracker. But the way that worked was that instead of having a purchase order, all they would do is department heads would contact David via email and say, hey, I need this. And then David would actually go get the product, go make the purchase, and then I guess write the check to pay for it at a later date. David
being the former city manager who left abruptly when questions like these were being asked. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And so there's no way to tell if the last many years of property is accounted for in the city of Godley that we know of. Is it correct to say?
I mean, no, there's no tracking. The paper trail isn't there. That's why I want the forensic audit.
Fair enough. And we'll get to that. So no accountability. And this also creates problems when you start going through your normal annual audits, because there's things like depreciative asset lists. And there's a lot of other things that an asset list is used for than just accountability. But the biggest thing is, the bottom line is, this is taxpayers' money, correct?
Right.
So, so what departments should have had an asset list? So we talked about the fire department. What other departments in Godley was this missing in, or at least you were not provided it when in the duties of a councilwoman you asked for them?
Well, I mean, we have the Public Works Department. They have a lot of the equipment that they use on a daily basis. And then we also have all of the offices have TVs, desks, I mean, all sorts of things, computers, laptops. So the courts would also need to have some asset lists.
So what about the police department? Does the police department account for their stuff? Do we know?
So they didn't at the time, but they started putting one together when I started asking the questions.
Okay, so at least now they're, so thanks to you, as we talked about earlier, being a catalyst for change, at least there was some awareness that things might not have been being done as above board as they could have been. So we've talked about vendor lists. That would be the way that we would get people to do work for the city. And that's, there's things we didn't even talk about, like competitive bidding and things like that. And then how to account for things purchasing. How did the city develop a budget? How did the city budget stuff without knowing what you have via an asset list, without knowing the rates that are provided in a vendor list and who you can use? How would the city do their annual budget?
Well, typically you would export it from the software that you're using. Now, I had actually went up and talked to David Wallace, the former administrator, when I won my when I won my seat. He informed me that he kept up with the budget with an Excel spreadsheet. And whenever I asked him where he got that information, he said that he already knew it because he had been doing it for so long. But I mean, you have to keep in mind of inflation. You have to, like, the past bills that we've paid. I don't understand how you can do a budget without a forecast.
I've looked at the posted budget on the city website, and it's one thing to have a proposed budget where you're forecasting potential costs that you haven't spent yet, but it's another thing when you have your actual budget and it's not rounded, to the dollar and cents. You've spent that money, you've submitted it, and there was some very, very disturbing numbers that were rounded up to the thousands on actual numbers. And it as a citizen who wants responsible government, it makes it very hard to see this, and it raises questions. So what roles did the police chief, the fire chief, the works department, what roles did they have in their budgeting? So if I'm a police chief and I get 2 more officers and I need body armor and a car and handcuffs and things police need, how did that piece work?
I actually interviewed all of those guys, and they had no clue how much money they had in their budget for each line. David Wallace, the former administrator, never collaborated with them in order to get the things that they felt necessary to need in the budget. So they did not have a part in that. And I mean, I came in around May, June timeframe. So I don't know what they did prior to me. However, we never had a budget workshop for the council. When I came in, I think it was around September to that meeting. The budget was in our file, and it was like, okay, so here you go. Here's the proposed budget, yay or nay, because we had to have it in place by September 30th.
Sure. So, how budgets should work for a municipality, the way I understand it, is the elected officials should be having budget workshops where the proposed budget is discussed. Sharpen your pencil, get your calculator out, figure out how to best manage taxpayers' money. And then over the course of numerous meetings, you guys will agree on a budget. And what you're saying is your budget was delivered to you right before the due date, and there was never discussion among the council members. Is that the way that I'm understanding this?
That is correct.
So we've talked a lot about David Wallace, and David Wallace was the former mayor who a position was created to put him in the administrator. And Godley's growing. There's very valid reasons why you would need that. Where was the mayor? The mayor's the CEO of the city. I have heard the legal team for Godley, and I have heard the mayor say, Mayor is the CEO of the city, chief executive officer. Where was the mayor when you were questioning vendor lists, asset lists, budgets, and stuff like that?
I mean, he was sitting there, but he never acknowledged any of it. And then when the administrator actually vacated his seat the following Monday or Tuesday after that December 6th meeting, because we had a special meeting. And then that's when we were given his resignation. Then after that, the city attorney started chiming in on these things, and we never heard hardly anything.
This is the old city attorney,
Yes,
correct?
sir.
Okay.
Yeah, so we hardly heard anything from the mayor at all, other than criticism because I made these people walk off.
So you talked about people that turned in their resignation. So you were elected in May. You started diving in June, got your feet wet, started. Police chief resigned, which brought some light to some things going on in the city. You began to ask these questions. These questions, you got strung along, kept asking the same questions, the same result. Never were provided any of this. This is very basic municipality 101 stuff. This isn't complicated. And then come to December, all of a sudden, mass walkout. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So walk us through. We got a couple minutes until break here. Walk us through over the next couple minutes on how that happened to lead us into the second segment here, if you can.
Okay, so again, we had a city administrator that had walked out and given his resignation. I believe his resignation was December 13th, on or about
December-ish time frame.
Yeah, and then shortly after that, we had our city secretary about 2 weeks later give her resignation. And then essentially 2 weeks after that, we had a court clerk that we never heard from. She just stopped showing up later to find out that she had retired.
So your city secretary who manages the day-to-day office operations of the city resigned. The city administrator, who at the time was budgeting each department, it sounds like, and running the city however he seemed fit, is what it sounds like, and was unable to provide basic accountability stuff, walked out. And the court clerk walked out. So in a city like Godley, a very small city, most people think court, they think these big courtrooms like down in Cleburne or one of the other big cities. Explain to me what a court clerk for the city does, for a city like Godley does.
Essentially, all she's doing is making sure that the tickets are taken care of the way that they need to be taken care of, contacting people to say, hey, here's your choices, taking notes in the courtroom, that kind of thing. But also 2 weeks after our city secretary left, our city attorney walked out halfway through the meeting and never showed back up.
Well, I thought he got lost on his way to San Antonio. I think it was.
Yeah.
He said he had to go to San Antonio. I was at that meeting. So the court clerk. So the city of Godley does certain things in court, correct? And this is would be smaller offenses that they do.
Right.
Can they run court without a court clerk?
They cannot.
So has Godley been running court since December?
I was informed that they have not because they do not have a court clerk. But the mayor didn't tell me. However, I found out through the grapevine that we now do have a court clerk. And that's just recent, within the past couple weeks, from what I understand.
So from December, and we're in the middle of May now, basically, the city has, and they've hired a couple intern people. We'll get to that, but basically has been dysfunctional. Is that correct?
Oh, yeah.
So what role does the attorney have by him walking away and never coming back? How does something like that affect a city and what it's able to do? And the reason I ask that is I clearly remember when people began to walk out, and I go to just about every meeting. I've gone for a couple years. When the employees began to walk out, a lot of questions were asked. Why can't we have more meetings to solve some of these problems and not let this run away from us? So with these people walking out, trying to have these meetings, Can you walk us through that dynamic here within the next minute before we go into our second piece here?
So our mayor pro tem, Michael Pappenfuss, actually called 2 special meetings because the mayor, AC McGehee, would not. And that was at the request of 3 council members.
So to get a special meeting in Godley, it requires 3 council members.
Yes.
And the mayor's responsibility as the CEO of the city is to have that meeting. When he fails to act, it triggers the
Mayor pro tem.
So the mayor pro tem then began to try to call special meetings.
Yes.
How did that go?
So both meetings, we did not have 2 of the council members show up, nor did the mayor. On those meetings were to address all of the employees that we were missing, trying to hire people to get in those seats.
So a part of the city council wanted to accelerate navigating these difficult times, and the mayor failed to act, and then some council members refused to come in so you guys could keep the city moving. Wow. Well, breakdown with Jenn Thompson, folks. We'll get back into it with segment 2 here in a minute. Stand by.
Have you ever met a single person in your life that enjoys paying taxes? No, no one does. If you can't sleep at night because you have a huge problem with the IRS, I've got some free advice for you. This service is strictly limited to individuals that owe the IRS $10,000 or more in back taxes. And if you qualify, we can guarantee that you won't be writing a big fat check to the IRS, or our services cost you nothing. The first 100 people that call today will get a free tax consultation worth $500. Stop worrying about your IRS problem. We can help you, we promise. Call the tax doctor right now. I mean right now to learn more.
800-240-4587. 800-240-4587. 800-240-4587. That's 800-240-4587.
Out of deck carpet giving you the blues? Tired of your old dingy and broken tile? Let my friends at the Floor Store in Cleveland, Texas give your home the makeover it deserves. This is Old Taco Joe coming to you for the Floor Store. Whether it's carpet, tile, wood flooring, or real wood laminate, the Floor Store can cover all of your flooring needs. Located at 405 West Henderson Street in Cleveland, Texas, owner Brent Harris can help. Shower tile, tub surrounds, even backsplashes. Give him a call today at 817-641-9444. The Floor Store, they got you covered. Out of deck carpet giving you the blues? Tired of your old dingy and broken tile? Let my friends at the Floor Store in Cleveland, Texas give your home the makeover it deserves. This is Old Taco Joe coming to you for the Floor Store. Whether it's carpet, tile, wood flooring, or real wood laminate, the Floor Store can cover all of your flooring needs. Located at 405 West Henderson Street in Cleveland, Texas, owner Brent Harris can help. Shower tile, tub surrounds, even backsplashes. Give him a call today at 817-641-9444. The Floor Store, they got you covered.
Welcome back to the breakdown. This is your host, Greg Cooper, with Jenn Thompson. Joco Community Radio is proud to be the voice of Johnson County, Texas, and is live 24/7 on the TuneIn Radio Network. TuneInJoco.com is the place to find all the ways to listen and watch, and the station app is also available for free on Android and Apple devices. Simply search your store, check out our lineup, and more at JocoCommunityRadio.com. This episode and more brought to you by Next Level Claims, making your insurance work for you. Reach out to your Texas sales rep at 844-TEX-HAIL. That's 844-839-4245. Be sure to dress your arms and more at thetiffy.com. All right, we are back here with Miss Thompson, former city council member of Godley, and we're trying to figure out the municipality of madness that's been going on in Godley. Once again, tomorrow, 6:30 in the city is city council meeting at City Hall, and get out and help these 3 new elected council members. They were elected by large margins. There was 10 candidates. This is who you wanted. It's easy to watch online. It's easy to read social media and see what's going on, but get out there for their first meeting. Give them some support. Also, we're going to be putting in the comments after the show a fundraiser for former police chief Jason Jordan. He was recently diagnosed with colon cancer, and there's going to be some events coming up to raise money and awareness for colon cancer and raise money for his treatment. June 3rd, there will be an event in Godley, and we want to make sure everybody is aware of that. That's for former police chief Jason Jordan, who served the community for many years and did a lot of really, really neat stuff in a growing community. So back to where we were. So we've covered vendor lists, asset lists, budgeting, and we've gotten to mass resignations. Wow. So now you have a city, a bustling city coming up to an election. You have no city staff. And as I remember going to these meetings, you were beginning to try to identify people to go into these positions, correct? How did it go when you were reaching out looking for candidates for city administrator, city secretary, all these positions? Walk us through these positions. Don't say names, but walk us through these positions in what kind of how the council worked together, worked apart, and AC's role in getting the city back on track, if you could.
So me and another member would actually go and post on Facebook saying, hey, we're looking for this. If you're interested, email us your application or your resume. And we got a good reaction from that. So
Demand wasn't a problem.
Correct.
Demand was not a problem, and desire to work for the city was not a problem.
Yeah, and we got some really good candidates. Like, for instance, one of the city secretaries one of the people that submitted for the city secretary had been a city secretary before, and then a city attorney. The administrator role, we had people with master's degrees. So the demand was there. It's just the ability to actually move forward as a council, because if we collaborate outside, then it creates a quorum. So we couldn't collaborate outside of that. So we were doing our own work, and then we would put it on the agenda so that we could bring what we have gathered at that time.
And that's something that a lot of people take for granted. Our system of government is designed the way it is for a reason, and it's not designed for the elected officials to go behind closed doors any day they want and discuss business. Business should be conducted in the open, in front of the people, as much as possible. There are very valid reasons to close meetings and have executive sessions, but when you can't get additional meetings that you're asking for, and you can't get agenda items put on the agenda, so when you can legally meet, that really creates some roadblocks. And so I know for a good solid 4 to 6 weeks, the town and part of the council was begging for staff to come in, and the mayor was stonewalling this. He wasn't allowing this to get on the agenda, or how was that going down?
I had submitted agenda items numerous times, but there were multiple times where they would not include them in the agenda. And then there were other times that they were not included. And whenever I asked, hey, why are these not included? He would state something to the effect of they were illegal items. And so whenever I asked, hey, how are these illegal? He said, talk to the attorney. But whenever I talked to the attorney, the stories didn't match up.
And then the attorney was obviously gone.
Yeah.
So basically late December, the city effectively shuts down. And then come early February, an agenda, February 7th, an agenda pops up. And I'm going to read some of the items on the agenda on February 7th, 2023. And so you had never interviewed anybody. No candidates. You hadn't in a meeting, you hadn't looked over resumes, and none of the candidates that were trying to get these jobs were considered by the council up to this point. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So on a February 7th agenda, we have discussion and consider for possible action adopting a resolution confirming the mayor's hiring of interim city attorney Wyatt Hamilton Finley. Item B, discuss and consider for possible action adopting a resolution confirming the hiring of interim city secretary Kathleen Rice. So interim is part-time. You're trying to fill a gap here. And you could be a little more, maybe more lenient on that, and it serves a different purpose. But how does Godley, by the type of municipality is, what is the process to hire an attorney and hire a city secretary? What does this process go? Like, how should it go?
It should go in front of the council so that the council could vote on it, and then they could accept who they wish to be in those positions.
So they will be submitted. It goes in front of the council, and then the council can confirm or deny who they want. Correct.
Correct.
So on this date, on this agenda, the opportunity is for one attorney and one city secretary when there was multiple candidates. As far as you know, no one else was considered, correct?
Correct.
On this date, about 15 to 20 minutes before the meeting, you were arrested walking into City Hall. Is that correct?
Well, I had parked because I always like to get there early to make sure that my binder's in order. And
Binder being a board.
yeah, so
Okay.
yeah, so it's all the information that I have gathered throughout that last few weeks before our meeting. And then the Godley PD pulls up right behind me to block in my vehicle, and then one of the officers comes up to me on the door, and then that's when they informed me that they had a
arrest warrant for your arrest.
Warrant for my arrest.
And this is right in front of City Council.
Right in front, like right in front of the steps.
How far away do you live from City Council?
Not even half a mile.
So they arrested you right in front of City Council, right before you went in to vote on a city attorney and a city secretary. That was the mayor's choice. Is that correct?
Well, okay, so the city attorney was actually given by our contract engineer, Glenn Breach.
Okay.
He had sent a reference via email, and that is where that attorney came up. I don't know who informed Glenn of who she was, but that was in fact the attorney and city secretary that the mayor had chosen to hire.
So you're arrested, which now you're not in council voting. That makes there an equal number of council members, correct? Now, in the type of municipality Godley is, the mayor doesn't vote unless there is a tie, correct?
Correct.
So with you removed from this, now there's effectively a tie and the mayor gets a vote. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So I was at this meeting and the two council members voted to not confirm these. Two council members voted to confirm them. And the mayor did have the deciding vote. And I'm sure you never saw your board packet, so who knows how you would have voted, but definitely didn't have the opportunity to vote. There was also some other agenda items on here. So agenda item E was discussion and possible action to mark David Wallace, Stephanie Hodges, Cass Calloway, and Jessica Hill as not rehirable. So David Wallace was the city administrator, former mayor. Stephanie Hodges was the court clerk. Cass Calloway was the attorney, and Jessica Hill was the city secretary, correct?
Yes.
And we've already established that there was no asset list, vendor list, budgeting was done awry, whatever. But David Wallace, Stephanie Hodges, Cass Calloway, and Jessica Hill, did they give proper notice when they resigned? Did they give the city opportunity to continue to run? Did they just not show up? And the reason I'm asking that, because I've had employees before and people work for me, and there's a right and a wrong way to exit for whatever reason. There's a right way and a wrong way. And without you there, and here again, don't know how you would have voted on this. but the mayor became the deciding vote. And these individuals are all eligible for rehire at this point. So did they leave in a proper way or a respectful way and not leave the city hanging?
Well, I guess I'll start with the city administrator. He left the week after I had started asking all of the questions. I had asked multiple times for agenda items to be included so that we could speak to him concerning budget and those types of things before his departure. They denied me that. And then for the city secretary, so she did give us her 2 weeks.
Okay.
And then on December 22nd, she denied me the said agenda items that I was asking for that had actually been tabled from the previous meeting. So it's not new items, these are tabled items. And then she denied me that, so I ended up going to the city hall and asking her to please revise the agenda and include these items. At the end of that little meeting, she kicked me out of city hall and told me I needed to go. And that was because I had asked her for the items that I had been asking for 3 months that I still hadn't received. And then that's when I finally found out that they didn't have any of them. City attorney, January 3rd, that meeting, he basically showed up to the meeting. Halfway through, he closed his binder, said he had to go to San Antonio, and then we never heard back from him. The court clerk, that's another ordeal. So from what I understand, she never came back after the January 3rd meeting. At this time, we did not know that she was retiring. All that we knew is that she wasn't at the city hall anymore. There wasn't any work getting done, and the mayor had actually posted something on the door stating that the doors were closed.
I remember that.
Yeah, so later found out that the city secretary or the court clerk had actually retired, and her retirement didn't take effect till January 31st, from what I recall.
Okay. And and we might be get dates wrong. There's been so much going on.
Yeah.
So numerous candidates wanted this job, people very motivated to come in and work. So we think the mayor refused to allow. I mean, I don't think the city of Godley has to meet equal opportunity employment hiring criteria. They should. I guess the number one question for the mayor would be, why would you not want to expand your talent pool as broad as possible to get the best qualified people in? I know, and I don't know if this was at the meeting that you were arrested at or a later one, but I remember when the mayor was specifically asked how he knew about the attorneys, he said that he never looked at the resume of the attorney, which this is the legal guide of the city. There's fiduciary responsibilities, I'm assuming, where for the mayor, number one, to not interview a broad swath, and then to not admit to not even looking at the resume of the legal guide, it just absolutely floored me. And anyways, I couldn't believe what I was hearing with that. So you get arrested. So I used to work in law enforcement in California. When people get arrested, that usually drags on for a very long time until they go to court. And this is usually down the time. And there will be plea bargains offered. There will be, you can plead guilty, not guilty. You were arrested on February 7th. And at what point did this kind of go away? Walk us through the next few days of February 7th.
So the timeline that I received from the county attorney is that I was arrested with the arrest warrant on the 7th of February. The charges were filed in the county attorney's office on the 8th of February. And the county attorney's office actually rejected the case on February 10th.
So over a 3-day period, you went from being arrested to the entity that should take this case not taking it. And then you were back operating as a council member like you had never been there. However, these votes are now taking place, and the ability for the citizens of Godley's elected officials to do their job was basically, whether intentionally or not, I'm not saying that, but definitely altered and within a couple of days, the entire county washed their hands of your crimes. Is that where we're at for the most part, or that's what you're led to believe through the attorney's office?
Yeah, essentially, I had tried to get all of the documents that are regarding my arrest, and the county said that they didn't have it because it was a Godley city event. So then I went and I asked the city of Godley PD for those documents.
Wait a minute. They said it was a Godly city event because I clearly remember AC saying Godly had nothing to do with it in a meeting.
No, it was a Godley event.
Okay.
They have no documentation other than the arrest warrant on file, and that's only because they had to have it in order for the judge to sign it since he's in county. When I tried to get the documents from Godley, they didn't give them to me. So then I had to do an ORR.
Open records request for those that don't know.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, and then when I did the ORR, I was rejected and stated that my verbiage wasn't correct. So I ended up having to do this 2 or 3 times. I still don't have my information as far as what's going on.
So you've been denied the right to confront your accuser, basically.
Yeah, so I don't have an initial response as far as what the city secretary alleged that I did. So I don't have her initial response. All I
And she
have,
was named in the affidavit, which has been made public. Okay.
Yeah.
So I don't know about you, but if that happened to me, I would go file a complaint. However, you have no police chief because the police chief had resigned earlier. So there's an interim police chief who is in place now. So you have an interim police chief with a small rural town with a police department. Did you do anything when this all happened with the police department?
I went to multiple entities outside of the police department because my trust level was very low. These outside people stated that I needed to first
Outside people, what
yeah,
other law
like the
enforcement entities?
sheriff's
Okay, other
office,
law
the
enforcement
county, the rangers, all of those guys said that the first thing that I needed to do was file a complaint with the Godley PD.
It's their jurisdiction. It's their house.
So instead of going there, because again, my trust level is not there, I emailed the interim chief my criminal complaint against AC McGehee. And that was later on because, again, I was trying to, contact all these other people and find out what way I need to do it in order to be.
Sure.
Yeah.
You don't look like a hardened career criminal. It's probably a road you haven't been down a bunch, but
yeah. So on March 21st of this year, I actually submitted my complaints
to interim.
Yeah, interim.
Okay, interim police chief.
And then that same chief on the 22nd stated that he had received it. 2 days later, I got an email from the same interim chief's attorney informing me that I needed to cease and immediately withdraw the materials. And then
Materials being the complaint?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then on 4/4, the mayor during a meeting stated that he had personally hired that interim chief as the chief of police, and he had been in that role for about a week already.
So what was your complaint against the mayor for?
So there was a few things.
Okay.
It was malicious prosecution on an official,
Okay.
abuse of official capacity, official oppression, abuse of office, and misappropriation of funds.
Okay. So I want to make sure I get this. So February 7th, you're arrested. February 10th, and everybody washes their hands of it. You begin to exercise your rights to try to get resolution through this. And this comes to a head in March 21st, where you file complaints with your local police department. And on April 4th, the interim chief is made the permanent police chief by the mayor who you had the complaints against.
Correct.
Interesting. Was there police chief interview? I would think a police chief that's the pinnacle of a uniformed law enforcement officer.
So in December, myself and a couple other council members were pushing to get this position posted. Um,
Well, we're without a police chief. That I can
Correct.
make sense.
Yeah, so we were
Posted
pushing
as in like,
the job posting
okay.
on TML, on the website, like the city website. We were
If you're a cop, where you'd go to look for a job.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. So we were pushing to get this. And then I got an email from the mayor, and he stated that he was not going to post that position right now because there were bigger things that we had to take care of. So
Then
fast.
safety and security of the city. Okay. Just
Okay.
making sure I'm following.
So then fast forward, and we're asking him again, hey, we need to get this posted. And then another month goes by, it's still not posted. So then another month goes by, again, we're asking, hey, we need to get this posted, still not posted. And then that's when we go into the meeting, and we had literally been having this on the agenda to speak about, and we didn't get to speak about it because he had already decided to hire the interim as the chief, whereas we should have, as a council, voted the chief in.
So here again, we're back to the type of city Godley is. The mayor can appoint, but it requires council confirmation. It's a multiple, and this is checks and balances of government. I mean, pieces of government have their roles, and in the type of municipality Godley is, he appoints and you guys confirm, and you were never offered the ability to do that. And here again, why, you hear a lot at some of these city council meetings about like, oh, everybody should come in and get along. Everyone should come in and get along. And we don't want to change old Godley. Let me tell you something, old Godley. If I had lived in Godley my whole life, I would be one of two things. I would be demanding what the city council was asking for, to clear my neighbors' names, to clear the names of the individuals who I had elected as old school Godley, to clear their names, or I would be mortified that the people I entrusted my community with were abusing it. Because it's only one of the two things. They're either abusing what was given to them via election by their neighbors, or they're being accused of stuff that's not. But there was absolutely no way to verify any of this because of all the roadblocks put up. And then to hire police chief, and no offense to Chief Cantrell, he could be the absolute best police chief in the entire country. But you can't limit the talent pool that you draw from by unilaterally hiring one person. And then in a city council meeting, listening to the mayor say, when asked, how do you know he was qualified, saying that, well, he told me he was qualified. Absolutely. Godley deserves better. Godley deserves the best secretary they can get, the best court administrator they can get, the best city attorney they can get, the best police chief they can get. And this mayor unilaterally doing this stuff prevented this from happening. And it makes absolutely no sense. And now, as we wind up here, we've talked about no approved vendor list. We've talked about an asset list not being there. We've talked about how their budgeting is bad. Now we're into the hiring. One of the biggest things that you were asked about was what's called a forensic audit. And I want to leave this with the forensic audit. So everybody wants to talk about, or a lot of people want to talk about an audit. An audit is only dependent on what's given to them. If I got 5 jobs and I only give 2 W-2s to my CPA is going to run those numbers based on what I have given them. A forensic audit can mitigate some of this and deep dive it on a different level. Is that correct? Can you explain to us the difficulties you have of why you wanted a forensic audit, why you felt it was needed, and what happened when you began to ask for a forensic audit?
Well, when you think forensic audit, your initial response would be like, well, we get an audit every year. Okay, so that audit that we get every year is basically just a little bit of a cut that you can put a Band-Aid on. If you look at a forensic audit gets down into the deep bones and meat of it. You're going to need stitches in order to heal it up. With all of the things that we have endured, I feel like we need to start over, start fresh, create a foundation. Right now, things are so messy that we don't have a foundation. If somebody were to come into the doors, they wouldn't know where to start. That forensic audit will cause a foundation that we know where to start.
Well, here again, we're back to some of the longtime residents who are like, well, we don't need that. You should want this to clear the path for this. You're, like I said, you guys were either done wrong by your neighbors who you elected, or you want their names cleared. But hey, get out tomorrow, 6:30, city council meeting. Support this new council. They have no confidence votes on the mayor. They have no confidence votes on the attorney, and they have a request for proposal for a forensic audit. Thank you with the breakdown. Good luck, Godley. We'll be pulling for you.
From Burleson to Venus and Grandview to Godley, this is the voice of Johnson County. Joco Community Radio.
Why have thousands of aspiring authors teamed up with Christian Faith Publishing to publish their book? Because Christian Faith Publishing is an author-friendly publisher who understands that your labor is more than just a book. We provide authors freedom and flexibility throughout the publishing process, professional book editing, award-winning design, and some of the highest royalty structures in the publishing industry. And as always, you will retain 100% of the rights to your book.
I was looking to find a company that I could trust, one that assisted in the editing process completely.
The most important qualities that I was looking for was a publisher who was honest and upfront, no hidden costs or fees, and owning the rights to my own work.
Christian Faith Publishing will publish, market, and sell your books in all major bookstores, online booksellers, as well as specialty Christian bookstores. Call for your free author submission kit.
800-978-4812. 800-978-4812. 800-978-4812. That's 800-978-4812.
Here's important new information from the Diabetes Solution Center for you, a family member, or a loved one suffering with diabetes. If you have lost your provider, or if you need a provider for diabetic supplies, you may qualify to receive your diabetic testing supplies now with little or no out-of-pocket cost, regardless of your age. All you need is Medicare or private insurance to be potentially eligible. Call the Diabetes Solution Center right now for details. Just takes a couple of minutes. Our friendly, knowledgeable agents will give you free, no-obligation information, handle all the insurance paperwork, and make sure your supplies are delivered directly to your door for free.
Call U.S. Medical Supply 24 hours a day. 800-597-9323. 800-597-9323. 800-597-9323. Call right now. 800-597-9323.
Let's be honest. Wheelchairs are heavy, bulky, and ugly. If you carry a wheelchair in your car to take care of a loved one, you know how hard it is getting that clunky, old-style wheelchair in and out of your car. Introducing the Feather Chair Wheelchair. At 13 pounds, it's the world's lightest wheelchair. It folds in seconds and fits neatly in your trunk, backseat, or closet, so you can take it everywhere. And it's only available right here. Order yours today and get a free wheelchair case, a $50 value, yours free. The Feather Chair. The world's lightest wheelchair is just $4.99 with easy payments as low as $16 a month. Sorry, no Medicare or insurance accepted. So call right now to order yours.
800-823-5826. 800-823-5826. 800-823-5826. That's 800-823-5826.
Out of deck carpet giving you the blues? Tired of your old dingy and broken tile? Let my friends at the Floor Store in Cleveland, Texas give your home the makeover it deserves. This is Old Taco Joe coming to you for the Floor Store. Whether it's carpet, tile, wood flooring, or real wood laminate, the Floor Store can cover all of your flooring needs. Located at 405 West Henderson Street in Cleveland, Texas, owner Brent Harris can help. Shower tile, tub surrounds, even backsplashes. Give them a call today at 817-641-9444. The Floor Store, they got you covered. Out of deck carpet giving you the blues? Tired of your old dingy and broken tile? Let my friends at the Floor Store in Cleveland, Texas give your home the makeover it deserves. This is Old Taco Joe coming to you for the Floor Store. Whether it's carpet, tile, wood flooring, or real wood laminate, the Floor Store can cover all of your flooring needs. Located at 405 West Henderson Street in Cleveland, Texas, owner Brent Harris can help. Shower tile, tub surrounds, even backsplashes. Give them a call today at 817-641-9444. The Floor Store, they got you covered.
The voice of Johnson County. Joco Community Radio.
Texas grown, from the dirt to our home, no matter the weather, we do it together. Feed our hearts, feed our souls. We are young, we are old, for love and laughter. It's all